This podcast is sponsored by valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what mattered to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding, TV sucking ideas from our head, public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.
Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy's weekly podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org, and that's an online newspaper covering Derby, Ansonia, Shelton sometimes, and maybe Seymour if Kurt Miller decides to show up for an interview. My guest today is a longtime friend of the Valley Indy, Mr. David Lenart of Derby, Connecticut. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, and good morning.
So we're here, you're here officially, I guess,
Yes.
in a way, in your capacity as a member of the Derby Fire Department. You're an assistant chief there, right?
Yes, correct.
I'm glad it is written on your shirt. It's the only. Did you do that specifically so I would
So you would
not
know,
mess
yes,
up the title?
yeah.
And then what's your title now in the storm ambulance?
Nothing.
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 So you're nothing in the
I'm
storm
nothing
ambulance.
in the storm ambulance, and I jumped ship about 4 years ago now, from being the chief of the ambulance corps to being one of the assistant fire chiefs.
But wait, you're still involved in
Oh
storm.
yeah.
Okay,
I'm still a member, but
All
just
right.
a member.
I wanted to make sure I didn't miss some type of scandal.
Yeah,
or
no.
something.
I have no adult responsibilities whatsoever there.
But as we record this on Friday, October 12th, this is my planning and organizational skills.
Yes.
It's Fire Prevention Week.
It is correct.
By the time this publishes, it'll be over. But it's happening right now. And hey, we can talk about fire prevention anytime.
Year round.
Right?
There's no reason to talk about it for just 1 week.
Right. So you had asked to come on here and you wanted
Yep.
to talk a little bit about fire prevention that we did, I think, a year ago.
Yes,
And so let's, I'm sorry, I just got to.
that's okay.
Text.
It happens.
Last year, you had pointed out a bunch of things that were sort of the theme of that year's
Yes.
fire prevention, and I found it really fascinating because it was all stuff I didn't know.
Yep.
I'm lucky to be alive, like when I think about it, all the stuff I don't know. So, what's going on this year, and what did Derby Fire Department do specifically during last week's fire prevention?
All right, so we do our annual visit to the schools. It's always a hit with the kids. We send firefighters, some fire apparatus to the schools in the city, and it's something we do. We'll do it for anybody, any community organization. We do, along with just the schools, we do the Boy Scouts, some of the church groups ask us to come, some of the daycares in town ask us to come, and we give our spiel about fire safety. We hit the basics. 911 is the emergency number. Stop, drop, and roll. Don't play with matches. The close your door thing, which was the theme last year. Which I still think is a huge theme.
That's what I didn't get. Yeah, go through that again.
So-
That's what it was.
Yeah, so
I never realized.
Basically,
Because all my fire prevention just comes from the towering inferno.
correct.
That didn't work out well
and-
for anybody.
Right. I mean, it did. Steve McQueen is definitely still probably the best TV fire chief. That puts him over Travolta, any day of the week. But
He is great in that.
yeah.
That great scene where it's him at the end with Newman.
Yes.
outside.
Yep. Yeah.
You just keep whatever he says. That's a great line. That's a great movie.
it is a good movie.
All right, sorry.
But no, one of the big themes, one of the changing trends in fires and home fires is that we're seeing a rise in home fire fatalities. And the world we're living in is getting safer, yet somehow this one category we're regressing. It's got to do with a lot of factors. And the biggest factor is, 20, 30 years ago, most things in a person's home were made of natural materials, cottons, fibers, fabrics, stuff that are naturally occurring. So it took a little bit longer of a time for those to get burning. So the homeowner or the occupant of the house had a little bit more notice before the fire began raging. Now, if you think about everything in your house, most of it is a synthetic material. It's not made naturally anymore. A lot of them are petroleum-based products or plastics. So the time that you have to get out is dropping. They say that originally you had about 15 minutes from the time the fire started, 20 years ago with what they call the legacy house, to get out.
What does that mean, the legacy?
The older house, the older
okay,
style,
gotcha.
the older style. Now they're saying you only have less than 5, and some studies pointed down to 3 minutes to get out.
And is the stuff more toxic when it burns?
It is more toxic. It gives off more of an acidic smoke. If you look at the older stuff, the natural stuff, think of like when you have a campfire or like you burn, in your backyard, it gives off that like lighter colored smoke. It's not as dense, where the plastics give off that darker, like black colored smoke. It's much more turbulent.
What does turbulent mean? I'm sorry.
Turbulent. It comes out. It looks nastier.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
It comes out at a higher velocity.
Remember who you're dealing with.
Yes.
There. I'm sorry.
So one of the big things is closing your doors, and they to your room at night. It was closed before you doze, I think, was the official motto, and it's something that I sleep with my door closed. We sleep with our doors closed, and I have arguments with family members who constantly keep the door open. And the biggest danger to a person in fire is not the fire; it is the smoke. And most people die because of smoke inhalation and the inhaling of the toxic gases. So if you're sleeping in your bedroom and you're picturing in my mind just a standard 2-story house, you're up on the second floor, the fire starts on the first floor, the smoke starts building up, and it because your door is open, the smoke and the heat have direct access to your room. By shutting the door, you're limiting the space. The smoke and the heat, the smoke can still get by the seal of the door. It's not like it's airtight, but it's very, very minimalized. And the closing of the door buys you time to get out. It buys you time for the smoke alarms to do their thing. It buys you time for you to realize there's a problem, and it gives you that advantage over the fire, if you will.
And this might be a morbid question, but I'm not trying to be funny here.
So we're switching to the Mobile Horror Companion?
That's my other podcast that no one's supposed to know about.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. When there's a fatality in a fire,
yeah.
Where's the person most likely found, or what's the most? Are they still sleeping?
They're
just
one of
poisoned
two
in their
places.
sleep,
They're most likely found either in a bedroom or in an area by an exit. They almost made it, and that's a very common, theme is that they're near a doorway. They almost made it. So again, you're buying time, and a lot of times that's the time you need to get out.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, we teach firefighters that if they get trapped in a fire, to find a room, and the first thing they should do is shut the door, to buy them time for us to help them. So it is. I could send you some videos. They recently, the fire department did a great demonstration where they built a fake house, and they put 2 bedrooms in it, and they lit the house on fire, and they had one door open and one door shut. And
oh, no kidding! Yeah.
And
can embed that.
Yeah,
on
and it is amazing to see how the room where the door was shut, you would barely realize there was a fire, and yet the room where the door was open, is destroyed.
Gotcha. And what about then? Talking about the current Fire Prevention Week, is there any?
This week we're doing Look, Listen, and Feel. If you remember years ago from when you were a child and the fire trucks used to come to your school, we used to do Look, Listen, and Feel for the doorway. This year we're doing it as a whole motto, and basically what we're asking the civilians is to look around their house for fire hazards. And there are, overloaded electrical outlets are one.
I was going to ask about that.
Cheap extension cords are another one. A lot of extension cords. People would plug things in, and they run the extension cords under the carpeting, and it gets pinched by furniture, and over time, the current heats it up, and the next thing you know, there's a fire. So we're asking people to look at their homes for potential fire problems. Keeping things too close to your furnace. You should have a 3-foot buffer zone of stuff around your furnace. And, it's one of those that in the fire service we kind of used to, I at least personally used to kind of think like, okay, 3-foot buffer zone, they have that in case there's a problem with the furnace, but who really has problems like that with their furnace anymore? And then you look at the gas incident that just happened in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
That's terrifying. What a nightmare.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, they had a malfunction in the gas system in a community in Massachusetts. It's several towns, it was actually, not just one. But it put high pressure into a low-pressure gas system, which caused over 160 house fires. And it was because, the furnaces became raging infernos. So, little things like that. Again, electrical is probably one of the biggest. Candles are always, a concern of the fire department.
The enemy. About like overload, because I look at my house sometimes, and it's like I got the TV plugged in.
Yeah.
Then I got the Xbox. Then I got the Xbox One. I got the Switch. Like there's the computers. I've got those power strips. And here in this office, you could probably look at. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
The Aunt Sonia will be here. But how do you know how much is too much?
You got to read the manufacturer's recommendations on the products. A lot of people nowadays, especially too where we live, everything's old. So, houses don't have the plug every 8 feet like a new constructed house would have. So people are running extension cords everywhere. The cheap extension cords are probably one of the worst things, and those are the ones that you could tell the wire's not very thick, and they usually have like that plastic head that has like two.
Oh yeah.
Right. Those
that's
are
what my Halloween decorations.
Right.
Like
Now.
Those
are terrible. The shorter power strips are better, but they too have a limit. You can't plug like 2 space heaters in it and think, oh, we're going to be good here. It's got a power strip. You got to read the manufacturer's recommendations of what should be plugged in, what shouldn't. Extension cords are meant to be temporary. That's one thing that if you look at definitions and things, they're meant to be a temporary fix, not a permanent solution.
What about as a reporter going to fires over the years and then talking to the fire marshals in the ensuing days or weeks? A lot of times you'll hear, well, it was an electrical fire.
Correct.
And I always think like, well, I'm a homeowner. Should I be having an electrician coming and just checking out old wiring? I'm always thinking, how do you prevent some of these things when they're just these random in-the-wall electrical
Right,
fires?
Most of the electrical fires are, it's not that like you're thinking like, randomly in your wall.
There was a short, yeah.
A lot of times it is the extension cord that's overloaded or the outlet that's overloaded or a problem with a specific outlet. I'm not telling everybody in the valley that they need to run out and get an electrician, but people should know their electrical systems in their houses. If the systems are old or ancient, we know that there are houses out there that still have screw-in fuses. It doesn't hurt to have someone, check it out. The age of your wiring, and it's something you'll never know. The house was built. You could have a house that was built in 1920, and maybe the guy put a nail through some of the wiring when he was doing it. And over the years, it just shorted out. It shorts out, and you have a problem with a plug. And again, it is a little scary if you think about it, because you're like, holy crap, I'm sitting in this house, and at any second, fire is going to shoot out of every wall. And that's not the case. It's usually the overloaded electrical circuit. You'll talk to the person and they'll say, oh, I've been blowing fuses for a couple of days, and then next thing we got a fire.
And those are things like a light suddenly going out all the time.
Yes, it's there's usually some type of indication. You'll have like a problem with the system where you're blowing fuses, you're having a light that malfunctions. And
then going back to you had mentioned furnaces and boilers and stuff like that. I know what I had a new one installed when I bought my house in Derby and Hawthorne Avenue. The old one had come, I guess it was from 1960. It looked like a bank vault. It was it was cool.
Yep.
But it was like the house inspector was like, "You're all going to die in your sleep from CO2 poisoning." So we got a new one, and they say to come out every year. But does anybody? I had the guy come out and he looked at me like, "Oh, I don't know. What do you want me to do?" But what safety precautions should be taken to prevent fires other than keeping the 3-foot buffer?
Keeping the 3-foot buffer, again, having it serviced on a regular basis. And we joke because we say that one of the answers to every question someone asks us is, per your manufacturer specifications.
You really got to read those
so
things,
you're really supposed to read them and not just throw them in the garbage like most of us do. But we recommend that you have it serviced on a regular basis by a certified or a service technician. Keep combustibles about 3 feet away. Having a smoke alarm near the unit too, so if there is a problem, right away. And probably too, the other thing with that is also especially with furnaces, biggest problem is our concern is carbon monoxide. So having carbon monoxide meters in it, we joke this is our carbon monoxide season because the weather's getting cooler, so everyone's turning.
This is all turning on.
So as they're turning them on for the first time, there's the smell because it hasn't run in a while, and now you get that the smell that comes out of it from all the dust and everything heating up for the first time in a while, and it's our season for carbon monoxide, but it really carbon monoxide is just as dangerous as a fire. And having carbon monoxide detectors in where you sleep is extremely important, because you'll have no indication. I'm not to make light, but at least with a fire, there's warning signs. There's smoke, there's noise, there's light. It gives you a little bit of a warning. With carbon monoxide, there's nothing. So
you just pass out.
You just go to sleep. In your sleep, you just go to sleep.
That's it.
So.
And I'm amazed at how often you guys go to calls for carbon monoxide alarms, which is a good thing, because it's not
correct.
like, because I had a thing once where mine went off,
Yep.
and I was like, do I call the fire department? They're going to see all my crap all over my house. You know what I mean? I was self-conscious, but what would you tell people?
I always tell everyone to call, and we get a lot of apologies. It's one of the things just recently we had a carbon monoxide incident in Derby where we had a lady come home, her alarm was beeping, she wasn't sure what it meant, so she called. We got there, we checked it out. It was the battery. It was a plugged-in unit to a wall, but they have a battery backup.
That's exactly what. Yeah.
And it was the battery, and she was so embarrassed. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I said, listen, it's better that you call us and we come and say, oh no, there's nothing wrong, than for you to think, the alarm's just messed up. I'll be all right. I'll, not worry about it, and actually have a problem. So we don't mind, that's, and then that's what we're there for.
I was thinking of my experience. I called thinking it was carbon monoxide, and then you guys came, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't feel that well. And then my heart rate was apparently through the roof, and there was a concern that I may have been having a heart attack. So you never know.
You never know.
Just call. Just call. That's your water, by the way. I forgot to tell
thank you. I didn't know. Free bottle of water with podcast.
No problem. We're nonprofit, but we do what we can. All right, so we talked about that. Are there any trends now happening? I mean, I hate to even say that. Well, like when we first launched in 2009, it seemed like there was a fire in Ansonia or Derby like every other week, like pretty serious fires. Are there any trends happening? That's anything new you're seeing in terms of calls for service or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, we're same amount of calls. The call volume every year statistically goes up, and that's just because there's more population, there's more there's more people out there, and more people lead to more calls. So it's still steady. It's nothing crazy. We average, still our same amount of fires every year. I did do some quick number running last night. I'm
sort of amazed how you're able to vamp and talk while looking at your phone. Yeah, because I can't do that. I just go radio silent.
Like I said,
that's from two dudes talking
that's
Disney podcasts.
Right. That's what it's multitasking during podcasting. It's so far for the year, the Derby Fire Department has done just over 500 calls for service. We're a little bit busier at this point in the year than we were at this time last year. The 40 or so incidents during the Great Flood a few weeks ago.
That's what you had, September 25th?
Between the 25th and 26th, we had over 40 incidents that we responded to.
Well, let's talk about that day.
Let's talk about that.
It's all right, because we were talking about it a little bit before we went on, but you were saying you've never seen anything like that, and you've been literally riding fire trucks probably since it wasn't allowed. Right, I would assume.
It was one of the most unique weather events I've seen come through Derby. I don't remember it ever getting that bad. There are some neighborhoods historically when we have a problem. The Seymour Avenue area around the seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, in that area, usually you'll get some water. It was much deeper than normal. But the Chapel Street area, New Haven Avenue, Route 34, in the area of the Jeep the Jeep dealership. I'm showing my age. On time screen printing.
Right, yeah.
We've never had a problem there, and we had to close 34 because of the flooding. Roosevelt Drive, North Avenue, there was a sewer or a storm system on North Avenue where it blew the manhole cover, the heavy manhole
towards
cover
the top, Hawthorne Avenue side.
And it was coming out like Old Faithful. I mean, it was coming about 6 feet.
It looked like it was like
crazy.
levitating there. Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
The extremely small stream on Sodom Lane next to the Shagbark Drive overtook the road, which flooded the back parking lot of what was soon to be the Big Y, and actually flooded a car up to the the passenger compartment. The back parking lot of Big Lots, the Edge Fitness, that little stream turned into a lake. The driveway for Lowe's, the bridges that connect Lowe's to Burger King, one of them almost washed away. It was one of the more unique events.
And then Talmadge. Let's talk about over the field that I wrote a story about that I'm getting some pushback on.
That's on
West Derby, or the construction projects. athletic fields behind the middle school.
So basically what happened was once it started raining, we were notified by our dispatch center. And I happened to have the unlucky coincidence of it was my duty week. So the way that the volunteer fire chiefs work is since we're not paid to be there, we cover weeks at a time. So we rotate.
okay.
So it was my week. So our dispatch center contacted me and they said, hey, listen, we've got a lineup. We're getting a lineup of requests from the PD to help check out flooding. How do you want to start handling this? Because I don't have at that point, I only have 7 vehicles. So I got to start prioritizing, what I want to send what to. So, we started sending apparatus and units to the flooding calls. Then we started getting calls or reports of people stuck in the water, people trapped in the water on Seymour Ave, on New Haven Ave. So we diverted a lot of our forces to that. But I got a call that Ryan Field area was flooding very badly. So I sent an engine over there. I started heading over. It was incredible to see. The amount of water and mud coming down the hill, rocks the size of softballs flowing down Hawthorne Ave was impressive to see. I mentioned to you earlier, probably the biggest surprise was when we got there, the mayor was already there. He beat us there. He was already there, aware of the situation. And we received numerous calls from Hawthorne Ave, Talmadge Street, East Street, all the way down to Park Avenue of people whose basements were flooding, water coming in. And unfortunately, there wasn't much we could do because there was just so much water coming that,
You just had to wait.
We had to wait till it stopped. So we had to go back to several of the houses after because they had problems with their furnaces, problems with the, electrical system, stuff like that. So we had to return to several of the houses multiple times too.
Yeah, and what triggers if my basement's flooding? What can the fire department do? And is there a certain amount of water that's in the basement that you guys?
We have some pumps. The problem is we need about 3 or 4 inches of water for our pumps to be effective. Anything under that, our pumps are too big to suck up the water. So we require, I don't say we require, and it depends on the situation too. If we only have one call and, we could do more, we'll do more. But in a situation like that, we were going to people's houses and saying, listen, there's, 3-4 inches of water in your basement. We get it, but there's people who have feet of water in their basement and it's approaching their electrical outlets, their furnaces. We've got to, spend our time on those. If it gets worse, call us back. So.
And were there any injuries that day or?
Well, we had one firefighter injure his ankle walking through some of the water. He stepped into a hole.
Okay,
but it was minor. He was back on duty within a week. So,
and looking back, because that day, I live on Hawthorne Avenue. I was listening to the scanner. I could hear the calls for service coming in constantly. It was coming in so much you got to the point you couldn't tell what town it was because there was so much going on. But I took my kids to Archie Morris. I'm like, look, I'm not cooking.
Right.
And I hadn't heard that my kids were actually scared to go out. I knew I couldn't make a left, but I'm like, look, we'll just go down.
Yeah.
We'll go down Anson. We'll be all right. I forgot what I was going to ask you after all that. But, were you surprised, given the amount of water, that there weren't any injuries? Was the flow that bad coming in some of these places that you're surprised somebody
I have to say, we all have pet peeves in life, and I really wish that they would make a law that if you knowingly drive into deep water, that we could bill you or they fine you, because the biggest problem is you have people that some of these spots the water was coming across the road, and they're driving through it up to the doors of a small car. And it's like what annoys me is at some point I've got to put my people in danger to save your stupidity. And that's what that's where I get, like I said, it's a pet peeve of mine, because that's how I feel, is that now I'm, we've put up caution tape, we've put up barriers, people drive around them because, they've got to go that way. But, again, the bottom line is at the end of the day, when someone gets themselves in one of those situations, we've got to come get you, and my people got to go in the harm's way because you didn't want to detour around, the block. So
gotcha.
But thankfully, there was no civilian injuries. There is a water depth, and I want to say it's as little as 6 inches of moving water can move a car.
Gotcha. Okay.
That doesn't
take much.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Hey, this is Eugene, most likely interrupting myself to bring you a word from our sponsor, valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what matter to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org. All right, so you want to switch gears now? Is there anything else you wanted to add about?
That's it. I'm good with that. I mean, anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to ask you. Just you do another podcast.
I do.
I'm always
yes.
trying to. I'm always like trying to look out for other podcasts in the state of Connecticut. I know there's a stand-up comic in Ansonia who has a podcast, but he's too good for us. I can't get him to come on the show. I put the offer out, but he never got in contact with me because I like podcasts. I think it's a great way to convey information. And you do Two Dudes Talking Disney.
Correct. Myself and Tony Bonoso.
Tony
are
Bonoso.
the two dudes.
So you've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think we're going into our second year. We don't do it as much as we'd like. I'm still looking for the grant that gives Two Dudes Talking Disney a full-time podcasting gig, but I can't find one. And it's enjoyable. It's something that we're both very interested in. So we get to do something we like.
So what's because you and Tony are Disney freaks.
I
mean the park specifically.
Correct.
Stuff like that.
We cover the Disney umbrella. So the parks.
What's new? The
parks.
You're getting defensive.
Well, no.
Now it's everything.
Right. I mean,
we
cover.
Marvel.
If you listen to our podcast, we cover the Disney umbrella. So which, as you know, Disney is Disney, Lucasfilms, so Star Wars, Marvel, ABC, ESPN is. So we cover the umbrella of the Disney company.
All right, so I just saw the Solo movie finally. I know this is probably almost a year or whatever, 6 or 7 months late.
I actually like talking about the Solo movie because I loved it.
I thought it was fine. What do people go? I mean, look, the Solo character, he wasn't exactly the most.
I loved
Harrison Ford.
I loved Lando.
Yeah,
I did. I loved Lando.
Right, they should just do a whole story about him. I get that the Solo character himself wasn't the most appealing or cool.
Right.
Although. I mean, I thought the ending was great.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I won't say it, but
it's been over a year. If somebody hasn't seen it by now, then
the way it played into the Han shot first.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Right.
Meeting Chewbacca
was great. Now you know how the trio or the duo came together.
Woody Harrelson was great.
Yeah,
in the
how
movie.
they got the Millennium Falcon. It was very good.
Yeah, I don't understand. What's your take on there was seemed to be. Maybe it was just the Russians. I don't know.
Right.
Intense
conclusion. I don't know. Like I said, I went to go see it on opening night. I was very excited to see it. And I liked it. I loved it. I thought it was I actually liked it better than The Last Jedi.
Me too.
And I don't understand. And as much as funny as it is, I don't have the data in front of me because I didn't research that last night because I didn't know we were going this direction.
Yeah, I didn't. I just thought of it. Sorry.
It was still a successful movie. It made a lot of money. It just didn't make the money that the Star Wars unit movie.
It wasn't the super blockbuster.
But
I heard that with marketing, it was questionable. It might have not. It might have recouped its production budget, but not when you factor in all the other costs associated.
Correct.
It might have been a money loser. But I
thought it was a great movie. I thought it was a good popcorn movie. I enjoyed watching it. I bought the DVD when it came out. I watched it again.
And it's it was so refreshing to me to see a Star Wars movie. I mean, I liked Rogue One. I liked
out of the
Force
main
Awakens.
out of the main storyline.
Yeah, and it didn't have that dark pathos that are in all these movies where it's like. I mean, that Last Jedi. All right, Kylo Ren. All right, you're depressed. I get it.
We get it.
But it was nice to have just a refreshing, fun movie. And Rogue One too. Rogue One I thought was a good movie, but it's a little dark.
Right. I can actually. It's funny because I can remember watching Rogue One in the theater, and I remember it hitting me they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
I can remember and thinking I'm watching a Star Wars movie, and they're all gonna die. I mean, it hit you.
Yeah, and this was nice that it was it doesn't always have to, because there's this whole trend now in all the Marvel movies too, where they always have. I mean, I didn't see the what Thanos snaps his fingers, that one. I didn't see that one yet. But those also have that dark undertones.
Somebody's gonna
guys. And the DC ones, all
DC
the
ones,
everything's
dark. You can't even see the movie.
Right? Yeah, they're literally dark.
They're literally dark.
They're trying to be so depressing. It's like. Dude, this movie's about a guy who wears his underwear on the outside. How dark is that going to be? X-Men, same thing.
Right.
I mean, so anyway, I thought the Solo movie.
I did.
Was
I like it a lot,
refreshing.
and I feel like it gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand it personally.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed it, and I'll watch it again, and if it's on TV, I'll watch it.
Now, James Gunn, who I do the Mobile Horror Companion horror movie podcast. So James Gunn is a guy that has been on like Horror Geeks' radar forever because he
Right.
started off with Troma.
Correct.
He made gutter exploitation movies. He was known as a horror guy, as a freak, as an offensive freak. Whatever he gets. Sony finds this out, and his corporation kicks him off Guardians of the Galaxy. But now he's going to make whatever DC Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah,
apparently,
supposedly
is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe. Again, I don't follow DC as much. It's not in our wheelhouse, but he is supposedly the front runner for to do the Suicide Squad 2 movie.
What would that get you to go? Would like having him attached? Because he did a good job with Guardians of the Galaxy.
I've seen this. Just because we do the Marvel side doesn't mean we don't cross over. I have no problems with the DC movies. I have no problems with DC in general. I just think actually Aquaman is my favorite DC character.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's funny because Aquaman is just as powerful as Superman, but people make fun of him because he can talk to fish.
It's kind of weird,
Right.
Yeah.
But
Why would you want to?
right. I mean, but
The smell alone.
right. And so I know it'll be interesting to see what kind of movie they make. But again, his track record is he makes a good movie.
Yeah, he
So,
makes pretty enjoyable movies.
Yeah.
I hope that somehow they can. I want them to get Michael Rooker into that too, because that guy's awesome in everything. And I thought like Suicide Squad, that first one, I thought that was one of those movies that had the potential to be
correct
a good movie.
to do it, and then
like Will Smith is great in it. I'm not a
Right.
Will Smith fan, but that guy, he's great in that movie.
Yeah.
But then the plot is just incomprehensible.
Right.
Oh, I know what I want to ask you.
hit me with it.
And then again, we're sticking with DC because I don't know. This is top of mind.
Right.
Ben Affleck as Batman. Like him, hate him.
I mean, here's my take on Batman. I mean, Adam West is always number one. Always. That's right. It's almost like an asterisk. Like when you have the conversation, who's the best Batman, you have to actually take Adam West off the table because he is the best.
He's definitely his own. I'll give you that.
Right. So now you look at the who's left. I mean, obviously, judging by our age, Michael Keaton was my favorite because that's where we grew up with the Tim Burton first Batman.
Yeah. 1990.
Christian Bale in the Dark Knight trilogy. Those were great movies, and I loved every one of them. I had no problems with Ben Affleck as Batman. I would like to have seen Christian Bale continue, but I also feel like it didn't fit. The Batman that Ben Affleck is portraying is a different Batman than Christian Bale was portraying. So
Yeah. I'm down with Affleck.
I think
Batfleck, whatever
Clooney
his
was
name
probably
is.
the worst, right? Actually,
Clooney,
poor Val Kilmer.
Poor Val Kilmer.
Poor Val. Everyone forgets about him, but
He's like the George Lazenby of Batman. Yeah. And now my mind's blank.
That's
again.
all right. It's early.
There's something else I wanted to ask.
We've covered
you
a
about.
lot.
I know.
We started with
Venom.
Venom.
I haven't seen it, but the reviews the critics are killing it.
The critics killed it, but the fans loved it.
And it's almost like the critics are killing it in a way that makes me want to see it because I love a good campy.
Right, and
this movie sounds. It's supposedly. I read this great review where they said basically it's Tom Hardy falling in love with himself, Venom. It's a love story between his
him and
normal character
yeah.
and Venom. They which I just thought it's subversive.
Right.
Dave's mom is calling.
My
us
mother's
right
calling
now.
me right now. I know.
Hi, Mrs.
And
Lenart.
she knows we're here. I told her. I said I'll be doing a podcast at the Valley Indy at 10 o'clock.
She probably wants to come on.
Right. It's funny. The first review I read of Venom said that it was as bad as Catwoman.
Wow!
And
wow!
It did, and I called one of my friends, Matt, because he's a big comic book guy, and I said, "Dude, did you see this?" And he was like, "We were kind of laughing about it," and but the fan reviews have been excellent. The biggest complaint I've seen so far, which I kind of agree with, is there's no Spider-Man.
Yeah, how do you do that? Yeah,
Venom. For those of you who are not in the comic book world, Venom and Spider-Man are mortal enemies. Spider-Man was Venom. There's a whole bunch of crossovers and all this jazz, but it's
that is strange,
right?
Because it's like they're two sides of the coin.
They're two sides of a coin, and you're not getting it. And it's like that seems to be the biggest complaint. But I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go hopefully next week. I have Chief Glode, jumping back to the fire prevention. We usually take in the comic book movies together. So
Who? It's what
Mike Glode, Chief Glode.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. we go together to the comic book movies. So
Yeah.
you know,
So what are the big, just to wrap this up too, and I apologize for jumping all over
no
the
problem,
place.
no problem.
What are the big, the Marvel or what's the big movies coming out for Disney, I guess, between now and say the summer?
Again,
Like,
you got to give me research time. But for Disney, you got a couple coming up. You got Wreck-It Ralph 2 coming
Yes,
out. Ralph
that
Breaks the
looks
Internet.
good. That movie looks good.
I'm looking forward to that. I liked the first one.
That's great. Underrated flick.
Yes, there's rumors that in the Disney world, there's always a lot of rumors about the parks, but there's rumors that there's a Wreck-It Ralph attraction possibly coming to Tomorrowland, which I think would be a good fit. And then moving on, off the top of my head, and I may miss one, and Tony's going to be yelling at the screen when he hears me, but Mary Poppins is coming out. The sequel to Mary Poppins is coming out this fall.
That live action one already came out?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
It's not live. I mean, Mary Poppins was live action, but
Gotcha. I'm sorry. The new one with whoever.
Yeah, with Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Okay. And the trailer looks good. My wife is a huge Mary Poppins fan, so I'll be definitely going to see that. But right now, everyone's waiting for the second half of the Avengers. The next Avengers movie. That's
the big one. That's the one that are on
people's.
people's.
That's what Thanos snapped. Half the world is gone. They've tied it all together.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. If you haven't seen it by now,
Yeah, it's available everywhere.
I actually, I hate to admit this, but I finally last week just watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was one of those that I just.
Yeah.
And
is that good?
It was very good. I enjoyed it. The ending kind of tied right in. The extra credit scene tied right into Avengers.
Oh, no kidding.
So it explains, because, like a lot of the problems with the Marvel movies is you're like, well, wait a minute. One of my classic, annoyances in the Marvel thing is you look at Iron Man 3. And I always say Iron Man 3 was probably one of the worst Marvel movies because it doesn't make sense to me. Here's Tony Stark who's on version 42 of the suit and nothing's working in it. And he's fighting, him and War Machine are fighting this terrorist that's kidnapped the president of the United States. Like the Captain America obviously must have been on vacation that week. Black Widow was out of the country. Hawkeye was doing an archery tournament. Like where was everybody? And that was one of the big things with this last Avenger movie was you never saw Hawkeye or Ant-Man, and everybody was where are they? Where are they? So this. The Ant-Man and Wasp movie explained that.
Oh, no kidding.
So,
all right, I gotta check that out.
But I enjoyed it. It was good.
All right, Dave Lenart. I
All
kept
right.
you for 35 minutes. I want to thank you.
No problem.
For stopping by and for all the support you've given the Valley Indy over the years. You and your family have always been great to us, and in your capacity in the fire department, always very open and transparent, and I do appreciate it.
Anytime, you know that.
See you next time.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding, TV sucking ideas from our head, public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur, yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day, online clickbait a prurient way, it's free information here to stay. Not even hookers give it away. Advertising, metastasizing, newsroom shrinking, constant attrition. We'll ride the dinosaur. We'll ride the dinosaur.